Hi there, Susan Yasui here with Chapter 2 of Through the Eyes of a Child. Now, this is the book that my daughter and I wrote, but with her looking at the difference in the cultures between her mother and father. So, Chapter 2, she writes, Love at First Sight. And here's what she says. I thought you might be interested to hear how my parents met each other. That is the one question that I hear most of the time. My dad was born and raised in a small rice farming community named Hibagun Saijocho, a couple-hour drive northeast of Hiroshima. Being the middle of the three sons, he moved to the big city after graduating high school. A family friend put him to work in one of those companies under Mazda Motor Corporation's umbrella. He was making car parts. He never thought, even in his wildest dreams, he says, that he'd ever meet an American, much less marry one. And my mom was the branch manager of a bank in Northern California. She'd already been married and divorced by then. She too was busy living her day-to-day life, never dreaming about what was to come. Then she got a telephone call from a man she used to work with. I know this sounds odd, he said, but how about moving to Japan? Oh, wow. Her mind raced ahead, barely hearing his words, as he told her about an American baseball player who had just signed a contract with the Hiroshima Carp baseball team. This ball player needed a helper, and she seemed just the person for the job. My mom's first thought was, oh no, I just bought a new car. But the pioneer spirit that she is, she found someone to take over the payments of her new car, quit her job, sold the furniture and other items she wouldn't need, got a ticket, and took off for the adventure of her life. The baseball player lived in a very large apartment overlooking the city. He had 2 extra bedrooms in there, and there was no need for her to worry about trying to find an apartment all on her own, not even speaking a word of Japanese. She couldn't even get from the airport to his apartment without help from a friendly English-speaking Japanese man that she met on the airplane. Mom says that she has known many instances in America of men and women who have shared living quarters without being more than just roommates. It wasn't like that in Hiroshima. No matter how often either of them said that their relationship was only business, no one believed them. It was for this reason that just a month after my mom arrived, the baseball player asked her to go out on her own one night while he entertained his new girlfriend. He knew the young woman would say goodbye right away if she saw my mom's shoes in the entrance or thought another woman was living in the apartment. So my mom took a deep breath, hid all of her shoes in her bedroom, grabbed her coat and bag, and stepped out into a cold April wind. A chill passed over her body, more from the feeling in her heart than in the wind. The only person my mom knew in Hiroshima was the man that she met on the airplane when she first arrived. She remembered his saying that his father owned a disco and many restaurants in the city. He had invited her to visit him anytime at the disco since he was the manager there. Going in to see him seemed the only answer to passing the time away until she could return to what she now called her home. She recalled the name of the disco because it was named after a familiar California city. It was the Santa Monica Club. But the first problem came in trying to explain to the taxi driver where she wanted to go. She thought she was pronouncing the name correctly, but she hadn't learned the Japanese vowel sounds yet. Finally, in desperation, the taxi driver called the office on his on his radio. The office person said something that my mom couldn't understand, but then the taxi driver handed her a piece of paper and a pen. She spelled out the location name, Santa Monica Club. The driver yelled out, "Oh, Santa Monica! Ah, so desu ka!" Anyway, off they went. So after 10 minutes of trying to get out of the driveway, the struggle was over, and my mom sighed in relief. The first barrier overcome. The disco manager was very friendly, but he was surprised at the reason my mom had come to visit. He never believed either that she wasn't the baseball player's girlfriend. He escorted her into the disco, though, and suggested that she dance. My mom loved to dance. She still does. But she was alone that night. She thought she would need a partner for dancing, but her manager friend showed her that most of the people on the dance floor were also alone. They were dancing to their reflections in the mirrors surrounding the dance floor. Well, that is where it happened. The dance floor was very crowded, and my dad's shoulder brushed against my mom's. He turned and looked at her right in the eyes and said, "Hello," which that was his way of saying hello. Okay, so he looked at her completely unafraid. The first Japanese man to do so in the whole month she had been there. She says that is how she knew he was extra special. They still have the little red dictionary that they use to communicate with. I hear that the only English my dad knew then was "I love you" and "yes" and "no." She said, "Forget the no and we'll be just fine." So using the dictionary, they found out that they were both single. They also discovered that he was 22 years old and she was 35. It turned out later, just a second here. Okay, it turned out their homes were within walking distance of each other. That was fortunate because Hiroshima is a very large city. Later, visiting my father's old-style Japanese house, they spent hours communicating, quote unquote, without a common language between them. It was amazing how easy it was to get to know each other through this dictionary, and my dad brought out his old school yearbooks, his Kendo certificate, and photo albums. My mom shared the family pictures she carried with her. They had so little in common, but somehow none of that mattered. It was just the two of them, worlds apart, yet sitting on a small tatami mat together, as if there was no other time or place. I hear that one time my dad made instant spaghetti for her. She ate hers with chopsticks and he used a fork. Wow. One time when her watch stopped working, he took his off his wrist and gave it to her. She still wears it to this day. I also heard that in the months to come, they were both under such stress trying to make their relationship work in spite of so much disagreement from the people around them. International marriages were even more uncommon then. Finally, they packed up and moved to America, where they were married and stayed until after I was born. We moved back here and opened an English conversation school when I was still a baby. My parents don't feel any of that stress they have here that they had here before. They say it is because of me. I am the bond between their two cultures. The disco is gone now, but the memories are still very much alive, and my mom still thinks my dad is extra special. Okay, thanks for listening. We'll come up with chapter 3 here pretty soon. Thank you.